Please adhere to YouTube's selected guidelines before viewing the content of this video. I do not encourage or condone any products, actions, or behaviors shown in this video. All videos are produced in a safe, professional, and controlled environment. Please do not attempt to replicate any actions performed during the video. All actions are performed by professionals.
Alright, so today I'm going to be smoking and reviewing the Belview King Size Cigarettes from Canada, which from what I can tell at least are a no-name budget cigarette brand that are only sold on Canadian native reservations, and are not meant to be taken off the reservation, as if you did that you would be breaking the law. From what I can tell, Belview cigarettes from Canada have been around for roughly 10 years, if not even longer than that. But in all honesty, that is all I know about the history of the brand. I don't even know what company produces these cigarettes to try to take a look at that company to find out when they were founded and maybe even get a rough idea of when this brand was first introduced. Yeah, I don't know when these cigarettes were first introduced in any way, shape, or form. There is, just simply put, not a lot of information, almost no information, in fact, about this brand online. And so as such, the Belview King Size Cigarettes from Canada are a little bit more of a mystery than not. But I don't mind a mystery, and so as such, I am certainly looking forward to trying the Belview King Size Cigarettes from Canada for the first time today, and I'm looking forward to finding out just how they are, whether I like them or not, and I'm looking forward to letting y'all know just what I think of these cigarettes as well. But before we go ahead and get to smoking, I first off need to cover the packaging. Then after that, I need to go ahead and get the cellophane all off, go ahead and get the pack all opened up, get one of the cigarettes out, take a look at the cigarettes themselves, see what they look like, what they feel like, what the quality is like, what they smell like, what the blend is like, everything like that. Then after that, I'm thinking I should probably, well, actually get one of these cigarettes lit up and find out how a Belview King Size Cigarette from Canada actually is for the first time. And then after that, once I'm done smoking, I'm going to go and give you guys my final thoughts on these cigarettes, give them a rating, and just overall let you guys know what I think of them as a whole. First off, though, as said, we've got to go over the packaging, which is a very basic budget, no-name look in my personal opinion. We can see there is a little bit of a warning label up here, which is not a standardized warning label. From what I know, at least, it might have used to be a standardized warning label, certainly isn't anymore, and this packaging as well does not abide by Canada's packaging laws, as all legitimate cigarettes sold in gas stations outside of native reservations in Canada have to have plain packaging these days, and as we can see, this is certainly not plain packaging, but there is still a warning label on the pack to try to make these look more legitimate than not, I do suppose. Not exactly sure, though, I will acknowledge. But below the warning label, which I'll be covering momentarily, we can see just a very, very, very basic look overall. We get a blue background, some silver, some white, and a little bit of red over here. We can see it's much more of a darker blue than not up here, and dark in the corners down here, but a little bit lighter than not in the middle, I'd have to say. And a little bit lighter than not in this oval as well. The oval definitely has like sort of darker blue areas around the edges, but in the center, it is much brighter than not. There is a highlight, and that is meant to draw your eyes in and grab your attention and focus it right in the center of the packaging, where the Belview logo itself actually is, and this logo is made up of white. There is indeed a black drop shadow going on with a little bit of a silver sort of border going around the white text as well, but more so than not, it is a, well, more basic logo than not, I will acknowledge. However, we can see that there is a little bit of a ribbon or flame coming from the top of the eye right here, which is a nice little bit of addition, to say that correctly, and is a nice, oh, what's the right way of putting this? It's a nice way of making the logo look a little bit more unique in my personal opinion. But the actual text itself, I will acknowledge, looks, well, just frankly put, pretty basic. As said, though, we can see that this logo right here is surrounded by an oval, just right here where my finger is, and that oval is made up of silver of varying, I'd have to say, intensities. There's some very light silver, there's some darker silver, and whatnot kind of thing, overall giving it a, I'd have to say, a mildly maybe three-dimensional look. And then we can see there are some silver bars coming out each side to kind of make it look like it's being held in place by those, and there's some smaller ones right there and right there as well. Taking a look at the very bottom in white, we can see it just says 20 king size cigarettes right there. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to the logo on the front of the packaging. Moving on to the warning label at the very top, we can see we just get a black background with some smoke right here and whatnot, and it just says, warning, where there's smoke, there's hydrogen cyanide. And then it just goes on to say, tobacco smoke contains hydrogen cyanide. It can cause headaches, dizziness, weakness, nausea, vertigo, and stomach aches in smokers and non-smokers. Isn't that just called getting a nicotine buzz and then like getting too much of a nicotine buzz, like getting nicotine sick, like headaches, dizziness, weakness, nausea, vertigo, stomach aches? That's just nicotine sickness from the nicotine. So what I'm hearing is that hydrogen cyanide just has the same effect as nicotine poisoning. Yeah, it doesn't really scare me very much and all. No, it doesn't scare me. I don't know. I'm not scared. I'm okay. Yeah, no. I mean, like, and cyanide is naturally in, like, a lot of things. I mean, like, apple seeds. We eat apples without question. Cyanide is naturally in a lot of stuff. It's just something that is found in the soil, right? So a lot of plants contain very minor levels of it. I'm pretty sure if you grow your tobacco in soil that contains some amount of cyanide, the tobacco is going to end up having a little bit of cyanide in it, but not enough, not an intense enough amount to actually kill anybody or anything like that kind of thing. This really is just a warning label that is meant to scare people, and it's not even a standardized warning label by any means, so it ain't scaring me, I will acknowledge. It says Health Canada right there. Maybe this is actually a legitimate warning label. I have no idea, though, but yep, that's the warning label right there, I will acknowledge, and that's pretty much all there is to the front of the packaging. Overall, pretty basic, sort of cheap, budget, no-name look in my personal opinion. Does have some nice stylization going on right here, I will acknowledge, but that's about it. Overall, it's better than plain packaging, but it's just okay. When it comes to normal packaging, it's very mid. But let's go ahead and move on to the back of the packaging, which we can see is pretty much exactly the same as the front. The front, though, the actual area right here is a little bit smaller than the area on the back. It's just a little bit bigger for whatever reason, but overall, we can see the design itself is pretty much exactly the same, and we can see the warning label up here, instead of being in English, is in French, because, of course, Canada is a dual language nation. And that's pretty much all that's going on the back of the packaging. Let's go move on to this side right here. We can see we got a little bit of a light area in the middle, darker blue towards the other side. It just says Belview right there, and pretty much the exact same way it says it right here, just smaller. And then we can just see it just says for sale on native territories, and then it just says the same thing in French below that. So that's just letting us know that these are indeed made specifically for native reservations or native territories in Canada. On the other side, we can see same background, but there's a bunch of information right here. Now, when I first saw this, I was like, oh, cool. It's going to give me information about the brand and maybe a phone number to call or something like that kind of thing. No. It goes over everything that these cigarettes contain. And when I say everything, I mean everything. This is the most detailed I have ever seen a, like, tar and nicotine and carbon monoxide, like, level rating area on a cigarette pack. So, like, on a cigarette pack, like in most countries that have that as a requirement, where they're required to show the tar and nicotine on the side of the pack for a pack of cigarettes, it's usually just the tar and nicotine that's required. Sometimes it may be carbon monoxide as well. And in Canada, that's not required at all. However, they're doing it nonetheless. And not only do they have tar, they also have nicotine, carbon monoxide, formaldehyde, hydrogen cyanide, benzene. They have like 6 different things that the cigarettes contain, and then they have varying levels for each of them that it just depends on how you smoke it. So the cigarettes in this pack can contain anywhere from 11.1 to 30 milligrams of tar, which is like a ton of tar. I highly doubt they contain that much. That is an insane amount of tar. It's also saying that these cigarettes might contain anywhere from 1 to 2.5 milligrams of nicotine. 2.5 milligrams of nicotine is crazy high. There's no way these contain that much. These would literally have to be stronger than Peace unfiltered cigarettes from Japan. That would be ridiculous, and I don't believe that's going to happen at all. It says carbon monoxide going to be anywhere between 10.2 to 30 milligrams, which is another insane, like, that is an insane, like, as somebody who has tried a bunch of cigarettes that have the numbers on the side of the pack so you know how much nicotine and how much tar and how much carbon monoxide is in the cigarettes, that spread of numbers is insanely wide. This is basically telling me nothing at all, which I think is honestly really funny. It just says formaldehyde anywhere from 0.083 to 0.14 milligrams. Just says hydrogen cyanide anywhere from 0.151 to 0.25 milligrams. And then it just says benzene 0.051 to 0.092 milligrams. And then it goes on to say the same exact thing in French right below that. Those numbers really tell us nothing at all, because the range of the numbers is so wide that it could be anything in between. It really tells us nothing. And some of the numbers are just insanely hard to believe. Like, for these to actually contain 30 milligrams of tar, these would pretty much have to be clove cigarettes. There's not a single cigarette I know of that is not a clove cigarette that contains 30 milligrams of tar. So that is just a ridiculous range of numbers, I will acknowledge. This really tells us nothing, and I do find it quite amusing. But that's what's on this side of the packaging. Moving on to the top of the packaging, we can see it just says Belview right there. Same exact background. And on the bottom, same exact thing. Just says Belview right there. And that's really all there is to the packaging. Overall, I think it's okay. I mean, like, it doesn't look anything special. It looks cheap. It looks budget. It looks like a no-name cigarette brand, and I think that's what it's meant to look like, in all honesty. The only reason this brand actually has a brand name is because they need a brand name to compete with other brand names. But it's pretty basic. It's really nothing special when it comes to packaging. It's very mid packaging overall, in my personal opinion. It doesn't really look good. It's okay functionality-wise. It's just meant to be something people grab because it's a cheap pack of cigarettes when they're stopping in the native reservation. And that's what it's meant to be, and that's what it does. And I'm figuring it does its job pretty decently, I'll acknowledge. Functionality-wise, I really don't feel like it's bad, but aesthetics-wise, oh man, it's very mid. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get the... I just tried to rip the cellophane off, and, well, it ripped, but, like, the tiniest piece ever came off, so that doesn't really help me at all now, does it? Go put that tiny piece in my backpack. Can't be littering, after all. Let's try this again, if I can. It is, like, 55 degrees out here, so my hands are a bit cold. Trying to do precise movements right now. Not it. Let me grab my knife. I think that kind of ripped a little bit more so than not, so I'm just going to use my knife for this. Let's see. There we go. Oh. This plastic sucks. Oh my god. This plastic is trash. Yo. I'm just going to use my knife to just open it up completely, because... Try it again, maybe. Yeah, this plastic, oh my god, it's so bad. It's so bad, genuinely. I'm literally having to use my knife to get the plastic off of this cigarette pack, which is not normal, I will acknowledge. It just kept ripping and kept ripping. That is not great. Those, oof. That is going to take some points off. That's not great. I don't like that. But it is what it is. It's not a big deal. Once you get the plastic off, you never have to deal with it again. So I can't complain too much now, can I? Overall, feeling-wise, this cigarette pack, I'd have to say, very much that of a printed paperboard. Nothing too special by any means. And of course, this is a slide pack as well, as is the case with... Is this upside down? Seriously? Wait. No. Okay. I was like... Because I was just kind of like... Okay. This is showing the quality of these cigarettes. So, we all know this is a budget pack of cigarettes from a native res in Canada. They're not meant to be the highest quality thing in the world. They're meant to be cheap, and they're meant to work, and that's what they're meant to do. And that's, I'm sure, what they do. Although I don't know that for sure because I haven't had one yet. But this is a slide pack. It's an okay quality slide pack from what I can tell, just at a glance. But when you actually start taking this out, you see the Belview logo itself is upside down. And then you continue taking it. I'm just going to take this out all the way. And then you can see that Yeah, so the cigarettes were put in upside down. So this is the side that you're meant to take the cigarettes out of. You're meant to rip it out like that. And so this is meant, I assume, this is probably meant to be the top, with this being at the bottom. And I think, yeah, they literally put the cigarettes in upside down, I think. It says Belview on the side, right there and right there. Belview right there, but they literally put the cigarettes in upside down. Bro, they literally put this, I'm like, it doesn't really matter. It's a cheap pack of cigarettes. Nobody's buying this for cigarettes being right side up by any means. Nobody's gonna care, but I think that's the first ever time I've seen a slide pack where the slide pack is legitimately upside, like all of the labeling is upside down. Bro, oh my God. We can see there is a bunch of warning labels on the back right there and whatnot. Don't care. Not even gonna cover those. Let's go ahead and put this back in the pack though, if I possibly can, so I can actually, well, cover what the foil looks like and whatnot just real quick. So let's go ahead and take a look at the foil. It's silver foil. Feels like plasticky foil, I'd have to say. Let's go and get it out. And doesn't even really rip out. Just kind of slides out, I'll acknowledge. Let's go put this in my backpack. Can be littering, of course. And now that I have done that, let's just put those down just for a minute. And let's go ahead and get one of these cigarettes out now. And let's take a look at what the cigarettes actually look like, what they feel like, what the quality of them is like. I think I'm gonna go and start off with smell. Right off the bat. I'm gonna give it a minute. Kind of just smells like packaging right now, so I think these might just need to kind of air out momentarily. But let's go and take a look at the look of this cigarette. For the time being, we can see cork style filter at the very top for the filter, of course. Nothing too special going on with the cork style filter. It is just a cork style filter. Any lines of perforation on the filter? I'm not seeing any. And then we could see the paper on this cigarette, or that this cigarette is rolled with. Does need to have horizontal lines going all the way across, just like that. So this definitely looks more like an American cigarette than a Canadian cigarette, I will acknowledge, because a lot of Canadian cigarettes actually don't have horizontal lines. It's just paper, which is very interesting and is quite different than what I'm used to as an American. Taking a look at the blend, we can see it is very much that of a, I'd have to say, medium blend. Not too dark, not too light. There are some dark aspects. There are some lighter aspects, I'd have to say. If anything, there's a few more medium dark aspects than light aspects, but more so than not, it is just a, I'd have to say, medium blend than not. It's not a particularly dark blend, not a particularly light blend. It is just more of a medium blend than not, in my personal opinion. And there's no branding on this cigarette or anything like that. To be expected, it's a cheap budget cigarette from a native reservation in Canada. I wasn't expecting any branding, and there certainly isn't any. Overall, quality-wise, doesn't seem bad by any means. It's not falling apart in my hands. And, overall look-wise, it's just a classic, very basic look, cork style filter, white paper, horizontal lines. Nothing too special going on. I'm going to go ahead and definitely not wipe my nose real quick. Definitely not going to do that off camera. Definitely not. Let's go ahead and just smell this cigarette, though, real quick and find out what this cigarette actually smells like. I'd have to say I'm getting very much that of a sawdust-like smell. Yeah, I'd have to say mainly sawdust, sort of like cedarwood sawdust, a little bit of nuts under it, and maybe a little bit of cream. This very much does smell like a Canadian blend cigarette, I will readily acknowledge. And that's very much what this cigarette smells like. Well, overall, basic look, more basic smell than not, I'll acknowledge as well. When it comes to Canadian cigarettes at least, this is shaping up to just be a pretty basic cigarette. But will it be a good cigarette, and will it be as basic as I'm thinking it's going to be? I don't know, but I'm looking forward to finding out. Before I go ahead and actually get it all lit up, though, I am, real quick, going to take a sip of water, because I be needing one. Now that I've done that, let's go ahead and get my cigarette all lit up. And let's go and get smoking a Belview King Size Cigarette from Canada for the first time and find out just how this cigarette right here actually is. Yes, sir, you know what I'm saying? right off the bat, not a bad flavor by any means. Not getting any sort of chemical taste, paper taste, or just sort of icky, sort of off-putting tastes right off the bat, I'd have to say. I'm getting more so than not just a tobacco taste. It's mildly spicy, a little bit woody, a little bit nutty, a little bit brown sugary, and a little bit sort of milky, creamy, I'd have to say. Body-wise, the body is not the most massive by any means, but it is quite dense due to the fact that this cigarette filter has no perforation on it. So quite a dense body in my personal opinion, even if it is not the largest. Airflow-wise, the airflow seems mildly constricted, not like terribly constricted by any means, but definitely seems like a slightly heavier airflow than some other cigarettes, without a doubt. Definitely not quite as heavy as something like, let's say, an American Spirit, but something more equivalent to a Nats, I'd have to say. And overall draw-wise, I'd have to say the draw is very much that of a medium-heavy draw at the very beginning. It's got a nice satisfaction to it, I'd have to say. Yeah, I'd have to say, well, maybe not really medium-heavy. It's just more like medium-heavy. In all honesty, it's not really like a truly medium-heavy draw, nor is it really a heavy draw. And the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm just thinking that this airflow, while it is a little bit constricted when compared to something like, let's say, a Marlboro from Canada, it's nothing like completely out of the ordinary by any means. It is, I'd have to say, just slightly heavier of an airflow than a standard cigarette you might buy at a gas station in Canada. But certainly nothing when compared to American Spirits. But I'd have to say the combination of the airflow and the lack of perforation of the filter makes the draw itself just more of a medium to medium heavy draw. Not quite a medium heavy draw, but medium to medium heavy. Just gives you a nice satisfaction to the draw, I'd have to say. You're not pulling air by any means. Although I do suppose you kind of are, because, well, smoke is just hot air, isn't it? These cigarettes overall, the taste is okay. It's nothing insane. It's nothing fantastic. It's nothing amazing. It's very much that of a, I'd have to say, Canadian blend, without a doubt. It definitely tastes more Canadian than American, but there are some American aspects to it as well. I'm definitely getting a little bit of, I'd have to say, sort of baking coca in there. But I'm also getting some sort of like woody, slightly spicy sort of flavor. Excuse me, a little bit of nuttiness, a little bit of milky sort of creaminess as well, along with a little bit of a brown sugar and baking coca. So, I'd have to say these are definitely not quite just a standard Canadian blend cigarette. There's something else going on as well. Yeah. Overall roughness and smoothness-wise, I'd have to say, very much that of a, probably a 3 out of 4. Not too rough, not too smooth by any means, but smoother than not, smoother than your standard full-flavored cigarette. And strength-wise, I can't really tell right now. I am starting to notice a little bit of an off-taste flavor, though. Kind of in, I'd have to say, a somewhat icky, sort of chemical paper flavor. Kind of noticing a little bit of that. But it's nothing too big of a deal. I think this pack of cigarettes cost me like $3. So really for $3, honestly, I can't really complain, especially in Canada. And I think these per carton cost max $30. So 200 cigarettes for $30. That's what, for 10 packs? That's like $3 a pack. Probably more like $25 for a carton, in all honesty, and that's what, $2.5 a pack. Like, for 2.5 bucks a pack, when a normal pack at a gas station in Canada is, well, anywhere from 10 to 20 bucks, maybe even more. This is really not bad. Not bad at all. And I'd have to say, scarily enough, these are still higher quality than well, these are definitely still higher quality than Mavericks. But I meant to say Viceroys, because Mavericks aren't a thing in Canada. But definitely higher quality than Mavericks and definitely higher quality than Viceroys, but not amazing quality by any means. These are pretty mid-quality overall. Taste-wise is okay. The flavor is nothing insane. It's not super prevalent. It's not a super high-quality flavor. You can definitely tell smoking this cigarette. It's not a super high-quality cigarette either, but it's just okay. Personally, I couldn't see myself buying a pack of the Belview King Size Cigarettes again. They're just not high quality enough for my personal preference, I'll acknowledge. But if you don't care about quality and you just want to smoke, and you don't really care what the quality of it is like, I can't diss it. I can't diss it. In my opinion, these are meant to be cheap cigarettes that get the job done, and that is exactly what they are, frankly put. I'm gonna go and stub this cigarette out. I'd have to say strength-wise, now I was trying to figure out before this video whether these were full-flavored cigarettes or light cigarettes. They come across as more of a medium cigarette than not, in my personal opinion. Although, medium to full-flavored, I think is really the right way of defining the strength of these cigarettes. I'd have to say very much that of like a 3.2 out of 4. Strength-wise for these cigarettes, definitely something that, just based off the first cigarette, gave me a little bit of a buzz. Nothing too insane, not quite enough to really satiate. Not quite enough to get me a nicotine buzz that is to my personal preference, but enough to hold me over until the next cigarette, I will acknowledge. I think I'm gonna have another one in a minute, but based off the first experience with the Belview King Size Cigarettes, what is my overall thoughts on them? They're okay. They're okay. They're nothing insane. I don't really like them. They're worth the $3 I paid just to try. It was only $3 for 20 cigarettes. I mean, like, that's what? Just thinking, trying to do the math in my head. 20 cigarettes, $3. 30 divided by 20, or $3 divided by 20 is what? So if these were $2, it would be 10 cents a cigarette. So it's like what? 15 cents a cigarette, I think. No, that's not bad. 15 cents a cigarette, I think. That's not bad at all. Is it 15 cents a cigarette? No. That'd be like 12.5 cents a cigarette, I think, right? 12.5? I think 15 cents a cigarette. I don't know. I'm not very good at doing math in my head, especially division, I'll acknowledge. But, either way, you know, the $3 cigarettes. I'm really not in any position to complain, but I have had cheaper cigarettes that are better, and I've certainly had more expensive cigarettes that are better as well. They work. I'm gonna have another one. See if I notice anything about them that I didn't notice with the first one. Taste-wise, it's just okay. Taste doesn't really have, like, an exorbitant amount of things going on, I'll acknowledge. Although there is some depth to the cigarettes, I'm not going to deny that. But the taste itself is so mild, you do really have to go looking for the sort of intricacies of the cigarette, I will acknowledge. Let's get it all lit up, though. Yes, sir, you know what I'm saying? And for whatever reason, this one is rougher. And that means quality somewhat inconsistent, which is not a great thing. Grab a screenshot real quick. However, the cigarette smoke does want to go in my eye. It does want to go in my eye. It does. Well, hopefully one of those will do as a screenshot for the thumbnail of this video. We will find out. Overall, though, taste-wise, I'd have to say these cigarettes very much have that of a... I'd have to say... Yeah, the taste on this one is slightly different. It's definitely a slightly different flavor on this one. And that means the cigarettes themselves are inconsistent quality, which is not a very good thing. I like my cigarettes to be consistent quality. I want my cigarettes to be the same as the first cigarette I smoke out of the pack. And I understand that cigarettes dry out over time, especially if you have the pack opened up and whatnot kind of thing, but these cigarettes have been untouched, no cigarettes missing, everything like that, so the quality should be more consistent than not. Sadly not, though. So it does seem like the Belview King Size Cigarettes, the consistency of the quality may not be the greatest cigarette to cigarette. But the flavor overall, very much that of a, I'd have to say, predominantly sort of mildly sweet, milky. Let me think about this a little bit more before I really decide. A little bit of spiciness on that. Yeah, so these cigarettes definitely do have undertones, which is something I appreciate. They're not the highest quality cigarettes in the world, but the cigarettes, the blend itself, definitely does have some undertones to it. It's nothing insane, it's nothing new, it's nothing crazy by any means, but there are some undertones. It's not just one flat taste, which is something I do appreciate, I'll acknowledge. So I do want to give these cigarettes some credit. But I'd have to say overall flavor-wise, very much that of a predominantly sort of slightly brown sugar sweet, milky, creamy, chocolate-like flavor with undertones of a woody spiciness. So overall the flavor is very much that of a... Yeah, I'd have to say, yeah, mildly sweet, chocolatey, creamy, slightly spicy, woody flavor. And that's very much what the flavor of these cigarettes is actually like. Now, I will acknowledge, sometimes with packaging, and especially with cigarettes that have been in the pack for a while, as this cigarette has, I bought this pack last August, I will acknowledge. So it's been a while. I'm recording this video in February. I know this video is probably going to be coming up in April or May. So they're not quite as old as me saying they might, as it might seem with the release of this video, with the release date of this video. But either way, still older than that. And one of the things I've noticed with cigarettes that tend to sit in the pack for a little while is when you open up the pack and you get a cigarette out, sometimes the first cigarette or the first couple cigarettes can seem a little bit different than the others. And it's not due to inconsistent quality, it's due to the packaging actually kind of rubbing off on the flavor of those. Once you open up the packaging and you start letting outside air in, then the cigarettes kind of open up just a little bit and get rid of some of that flavor. And I'm definitely noticing, for example, less sort of less of a sort of woodsy flavor or a papery flavor from this cigarette than I was noticing from the first one. And it could very well just be due to the fact that the cigarette was sitting in the packaging for a while and the cardboard just kind of rubbed off on the flavor just a little bit of the cigarette itself, of the tobacco itself. But yeah, overall that of a, I'd have to say, and I'd have to say as well, the flavor of these cigarettes is not super intense by any means. It is more of a mild flavor than not. But it's that of a mildly sweet, chocolate, sort of baking cocoa-like flavor with undertones of a little bit of brown sugar, a little bit of sort of milky creaminess, almost like coffee creamer, and then just a little bit of nuttiness, I'd have to say as well, I'm also noticing. Then there's a little bit of a woodsy flavor, with a little bit of spice. And that's very much what these cigarettes are like. They're very much, in my personal opinion, a mixture between an American blend cigarette and a Canadian blend cigarette. Let's test the body real quick. Excuse me. Body, once again, denser than not super big though. Airflow, draw, been about the same as this with this cigarette as with the first one. So I can say how these cigarettes themselves smoke, besides the taste, is generally probably going to be more consistent than not. The flavor itself might be somewhat inconsistent though, although as said, it could just be the packaging. Overall, I mean, like, they're definitely better than some more expensive cigarettes I've tried from gas stations in Canada. I'm not going to diss them too much by any means. Overall, flavor-wise, more mild than not. A little bit of some flavor intricacies though, so can't diss it by any means. Not too bad of a flavor in my personal opinion. Overall, airflow was very much out of a medium airflow. Not too light, not too heavy, although a little bit heavier than not, especially when compared to some prepackaged cigarettes you might find at a gas station in Canada, such as Viceroy's. And definitely better quality overall than Viceroy's. Better quality than Mavericks, without a doubt. And roughness, smoothness-wise, very much out of like a 2.8 out of 4, I'd have to say. And strength-wise, very much out of a 3.2 out of 4. Very much out of a medium to full-flavored cigarette. Not quite a true full-flavored cigarette, though. Not quite a true medium cigarette. Medium to full-flavored, I have to say, is the right way of putting it for these. If I had to guess, these probably have, I'm thinking 1 milligram, 1.2 milligrams of nicotine, with probably 15, 16 milligrams of tar, more than likely. It's just kind of my personal guess. I can't say anything for sure, though. After all, this doesn't really tell me anything. These numbers, these words, they don't really tell me anything because there's such a large range. But they're definitely not as strong as they might like to imply, I will acknowledge. But, yeah, overall, you know, not too bad. Not too bad. Not a cigarette that I would personally buy with my own money again. Personally, if I was at a native res and I was trying to buy some cigarettes on the cheap to smoke, there are other brands I would much rather buy over this one, I'll acknowledge. But these are not horrible. They're definitely better than Viceroy's or Mavericks, for example. But they're certainly not like the greatest thing in the world, that is for sure. They're cheap cigarettes that get the job done, and they're pretty good for that. But when it comes to a quality product and an amazing smoking experience, you're going to want to look elsewhere because these are not going to be the cigarettes for that. Overall, do I like these cigarettes? Will I smoke the rest of this pack? They're okay. I mean, like, I'll probably smoke the rest of the pack eventually. I don't think I'm going to let these cigarettes go to waste by any means. They're certainly not that bad. But these are not cigarettes that I would buy again. And I can definitely say that these are not cigarettes that I personally am the biggest fan of. But, as said, they're meant to be cheap cigarettes that get the job done on the cheap, and that's exactly what these do. They're not the highest quality things in the world. The quality may be inconsistent, also may not be inconsistent. I can't say for sure, I'll acknowledge. They're just cigarettes that get the job done, and they do an okay job at doing that. Overall, the Belview King Size Cigarettes from Canada, they're okay. They're okay. They're not like amazing quality. They're not horrible quality. They're just okay. But they certainly are better than some cigarettes on shelves in gas stations in Canada, I will acknowledge. Specifically Viceroy's. They're definitely better than Viceroy's without a doubt. For sure. Absolutely. Definitely better than Maverick Reds, as said, as well. Overall, though, rating-wise, what do I want to give the Belview King Size Cigarettes from Canada? I'm thinking, a solid, I'd have to say 2.5 out of 4. Not a pack I'd buy again, but a pack that I will smoke the rest of. And for me, a 2 out of 4 means, okay, I won't buy these again. They're not really my personal thing, but I do think some people might not mind them, and I do think they have some redeeming qualities. And, well, I think that properly defines the Belview King Size Cigarette from Canada. They do have some redeeming qualities. I do think some people would not mind them by any means. They're just not really to my personal preference, and they're not a pack that I would personally buy again. And that's pretty much overall what I think about the Belview King Size Cigarette from Canada. As said, 2.5 out of 4 for these cigarettes right here. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys have tried these cigarettes before. If you guys have, what do you guys think of them? Do you guys like them? Do you guys not? Let me know in the comments down below. And I think that's just about everything I wanted to say for this video. Hope you guys have enjoyed watching this video today, where I smoked and reviewed the Belview King Size Cigarettes from Canada. If you guys have enjoyed watching this video today, of course, please make sure to like and subscribe for more content. I have my Instagram, my book, my merch, my P.O. Box, and my other channels, all in the description down below. Go check it all out. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video, guys. Till the next one, stay safe and peace, and have a great one. Yes, sir, you know what I'm saying?